Hello Bear Fam. Let's talk today about the Strictly curse, the Seann Walsh and Katya situation that's been prevalent in the news over the last few days. To summarise, Strictly Come Dancing contestants Seann Walsh and Katya, can't think of her surname at this moment in time, were pictured on the 3rd of October. Six days ago, snogging one another outside a London pub. Now, this particular day just happened to be Seann Walsh's long-term girlfriend, Rebecca Humphrey's birthday. Now, she was sat at home on her own. He had texted her to say that he was going for just an innocent drink with Katya after the show and that he'd be home thereafter. She says that not for the first time since he'd embarked on his Strictly journey, she said to him, she thought something funny was going on between him and Katya. And she says, not for the first time, he called her a psycho, and that she was mental. So let's discuss this situation. The fact that two people have a snog in public who are both committed to other people, adults, is that a scandal? I mean, if you saw two normal individuals having a snog outside a club, that wouldn't be a scandal, would it? That's acceptable behaviour these days. Go back a few decades and it perhaps wouldn't have been, but so what makes it a scandal, I guess, are 2 points, is it not? One, that they're both committed to other people, and two, that it's tied up with this Strictly curse, as is deemed. As I'll show you in a minute, Arlene Phillips makes some very good points. That if you spend an inordinate amount of time with somebody, that if you're in a teacher-student sort of stimulating relationship, if you're doing something very physical together, which can often be as intimate as perhaps a sexual experience with a partner, is it any wonder that these people stray, or that sparks fly, as she puts it? Phillips, who is Seann Walsh's ex-girlfriend now, said that although himself and Katya had apologised on Twitter publicly, that she herself had received no such apology. Interesting. It makes you wonder whether the apologies, or in fact, really, the apologies are really just, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like an expected thing to do, isn't it? That's it. Their management has said to them, apologise. It's what people in the public eye do when they've done something wrong. But he hasn't apologised to her. And she alleges that she'd had her suspicions from the beginning of the 3-week working relationship between Seann and Katya, and that she'd raised this with him. But she says he was quite aggressive and intimidating in his responses to her, and actually called her a psycho and mental for thinking such things. Which, I'm going to be honest with you, Bear Fam, I find more insulting than the kiss. The kiss is between 2 consenting adults. I know it affects 2 other adults. Luckily, no children. However, bandying the term psycho and mental is utterly belittling and insulting to those of us that suffer with mental health issues. So shame on you, Seann Walsh. And I think that's probably what you should think about apologising for next. Now, all these couples that I'm going to show you in a minute have all suffered from the Strictly curse. They've all ended up in a physical, romantic relationship with each other as a result of being partnered in a professional capacity on the Strictly Come Dancing UK show. So here we go, let's have a look at them. Now, I've had experience of this, not on Strictly Come Dancing. I'm not a Joe Sugg level YouTuber. But when I was a police officer, I wanted to fulfil a role that is notorious in the police service for being instrumental in, assisting in police officers having affairs with one another. Now, it's already a rife environment because you work shifts, you work odd hours, things happen at work, you have to stay there. So any partner you do have is going to know that you don't keep regular hours anyway. So it gives you quite a unique, well, not unique, but an easy platform to stray. But when I was married, we went through trying times around about the point that I got promoted to sergeant. He didn't want me to get promoted to sergeant, my husband, as he said it would be detrimental to our relationship. And at the time, I thought he was just being a sexist, domineering pig. However, having got promoted, I was then given the opportunity to be a surveillance officer, to surveil criminals. Now, this does necessitate you sitting in a car with a colleague for inordinate amounts of time, day after day after day. A lot of the time you are just sat waiting for things to happen. and you get close. You're physically close, you start chatting. You know, you're close enough that, you know, you can't go to the toilet anyway. You have to just get out of the car and crouch down beside the car. And I ended up falling. I fell for somebody. It ended my marriage. I did live with the chap for a year thereafter, but my husband was right. If you put yourself in close physical proximity to somebody and spend hours upon hours upon hours with somebody, there is a very high chance that you're going to end up doing something you regret, especially if your relationship's rocky anyway. And mine was going through rocky times as a result of my promotion, or me accepting promotion. So somebody was saying on the telly this morning that unless you're in a very stable relationship, you really should turn down the Strictly offer, because, you know, there's a very high chance that you're spending like 50 hours a week being very physical with somebody. You know, that teacher-pupil relationship, you know, we've all been there, where we've found a teacher exciting. They've looked very attractive. In retrospect, probably not so much, but when you're in that teacher, you know, if you're being taught tennis, or you start to have these sort of you're nice feelings about somebody, don't you? So is it their fault, or is it just nature? Dance psychologist Dr. Peter Lovett says he believes there are several scientific reasons to explain why the Strictly curse can strike. The first is social bonding. He said shared movement brings people together. Even when you have a baby and bounce it in time or out of time with other people, when you bounce it in time, the child will afterwards show some more pre-social behaviour towards those other people. In Strictly, you have the shared movement day after day. He said another reason may be down to the mood changes that dancing can cause. Different types of dance changes people's moods, said Dr. Lovett, who leads the Dance Psychology Lab at the University of Herefordshire. What's happening in these couples? There's a synchronisation in their mood changes. This will make them feel like a single entity. Their emotions are going up and down together, the same emotional roller coaster. The intimacy of the ballroom and Latin dances also means that changes in a woman's menstrual cycle can also be felt by their partner, Dr. Lovett adds. Through dance, you can have intimate knowledge of other person's state of fertility, he said. And another reason may be because couples form an in-group and out-of-group mentality after dancing together week after week. The couples are bonded so tightly that they form an in-group, and the other judges and couples are an out-group. Their names come up on the screen together, and you see the professional dancers defending their celebrities when criticism comes from the judges. This all helps to form the group. Beth, at the end of the day, we are animals. I know we don't like it, and we like to think of ourselves as this higher consciousness being with all-consuming power over nature and the world. Well, I'm afraid it's a load of old codswallop, in my opinion. We are just well-developed animals, and animals nonetheless. We can't do things that small insects can do. We can't create a spider's web. Have you ever watched them doing their webs? How intricate and bloody clever is that? We can't fly. We need big lumps of metal to do that. You know, we think we're clever. We ain't. We're just slightly more organised than some other animals. And I refer back to Jack. Jack's only got to see another dog, and he goes into hump mode, as I call it. There's no thought behind it. It's just a physical, I need to procreate. It's taught me a lot about the human male, actually. I've said this before this situation came along. I sometimes don't think men even think about it. I think it's just their bodies reacting to a situation, and, I know it's not just men that do it on Strictly. But we are animals, and we have a very base need to procreate. And if it was just one kiss, you know, when I was first hearing it, I was thinking, so bloody what? It's hardly a scandal, one kiss. But when you stop and get a bit more into it, you listen to the ex-girlfriend, Rebecca Humphreys, saying that she's known from day dot that something was going on. And then I start to think, you don't normally kiss somebody for the first time in public. It's normally a little bit of a sneaky one behind closed doors or behind the privacy of a dance studio, behind the scenes of Strictly after you just had a successful dance. It's not outside a nightclub or a pub. I go back to what I used to say to parents of shoplifters when I took them home. And they say, oh, they don't do things like that, there must have been a one-off. And I'd say, what are the chances of getting caught shoplifting on your first attempt? Because the first attempt you're really careful and you know, don't want to get caught. After that you get a bit blasé and you forget where you are, what you're doing. Get a bit overconfident, so to speak. Yeah, I think they're at it. I think it's very, very sad for his 5-year relationship. I think Katya's very, unless her and her husband have a very open relationship, which, you know, we're judging, but we don't know the facts. I used to say to people, you don't know what goes on behind closed doors, you really don't. There's one thing I learned in the police service, that, you know, you walk into a home and you're often very gobsmacked about what's going on behind those closed doors. You know, you may think you know people, but you sometimes don't, you know. So you don't know what's going on with them, but if they have a normal, what's normal, marriage, and I'd say he's a bit odd. I mean, his response so far to this whole thing has been to post this naked picture of himself on the beach. And he said this was his Twitter comment. So, I don't know, it's an odd response. But then what does he say? Oh, I'm divorcing you. Oh, I love her very much and she's hurt me badly. Duh. I think she's probably very naive if she thinks her marriage is just going to carry on. But like I said, you don't know what's going on behind closed doors. Their marriage might have been over for a long time, for instance, and they've just been keeping up a show professionally. We don't know. People like me can just procrastinate on the subject, can we not? Time will tell. I think I'll end by saying I think the response from Seann's girlfriend, Rebecca Humphreys, is hugely inspiring for women, or for partners. It doesn't have to be just a woman. But if you've been spurned, is that the right word? Spurned. I'm having one of my fibromyalgia moments. Spur. Can't think of the word when you've been cheated on. Spurned. No, can't think of it. You know the one I'm talking about. You're shouting at me you're shouting it at me right now. Have a look at her. I'm going to just put her statement up in full for you. but I think it's a hugely brave and very pertinent and very well written document. And what do we say to Sean? Sorry about the cat, mate. Meow. Oh yeah, and no spilt, don't be crying over spilt milk. No, it doesn't really, does that go? Meow. Cats like milk. Saucer of milk. Meow. You've made your bed, now dance in it. No? Now let's talk about the actual Strictly Come Dancing entity itself. The show. The BBC hit show. I guess one could say it's an entity unto itself, is it not? It sort of has a life of its own. And that the producers and directors all just take their turns at the helm. I mean, I seem to recall there was a Strictly Come Dancing show very early on in my life. It didn't look like it does now, but... So, do they have a responsibility? Well, what would you do? You'd have to psychologically evaluate everybody you want to come on the show. You'd have to then get them to... You'd have to establish how strong their relationships were. It's just not feasible, is it? We are all adults. We can all pick and choose what we do in life. You know, if you're going to do Strictly and you've got a relationship that's foundering, then I think clearly it's not the place for you. Or it is if you want to jump ship. If you haven't got the balls to just leave. Some people don't. Some people like to start a new relationship before they leave an old one. I mean, I know that from my personal life. I guess I did it to a certain extent. I know family members that have done it. You know, it is a cowardly way out, but nonetheless, it's quite a well-renowned way. You know, a lot of people do it that way. So, no, in my opinion, the show, the entity, the producers, the directors, the judging panel, they're not babysitting these people. These people are adults. These people sign a contract to join a game show. They know what they're getting into. They've seen what's happened to other contestants over the years. I'll go as far as to say I bet some of them join with that sole purpose, thinking, oh, I'm going to have a bit of fun here. So, no, in my opinion, the show, the entity, the producers, the directors, it's not down to them. No, no, no. Be interesting to see what the future holds. Will they be one of those Strictly couples that end up dancing off into the sunlight together? Or will Kevin keep his gal? We will see. So in summary, are we shocked that two professionals have stepped over the line? I guess we are all shocked, else it wouldn't have made the news. Should we be surprised, however? No. Although we think of ourselves as higher beings, we are still animals, and we still have animal urges. The question is, as a professional and adult, should you be able to resist these urges? I guess the answer to that question is yes. If you go along the lines that this was their first kiss, perhaps the fact that they were inebriated and had had their barriers significantly reduced due to the alcohol intake, perhaps that gives us a little more understanding. I mean, let's face it, we've all been there, or most of us have been, with alcohol. But personally, it didn't shock me. Personally, I don't know whether it should have made such a big news item. I think it's just juicy gossip. I think we like the tittle tattle. It's just like the olden days when people used to tittle tattle about people that had been naughty or done something they shouldn't have done. It's just with social media we all get to do it more openly and go on. And sorry, talking to the dog who was rolling in poop. Quite Freudianly. No, we shouldn't be surprised. We all have the capacity to do such things. The only reason theirs makes the headlines is because they're celebrities and because they're on a dance show game show that's currently in the news, So, it is what it is. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your company today, Bear Fam. I've enjoyed doing something a bit different. Let me know your thoughts on the Bear Fam. What should we call it? Bear Fam. I'll think of a name for like a day when we look at a news item and express opinions and chat about it. I've sort of done it before with the period poverty vlog. It's good to have a change sometimes, isn't it? A change is as good as a rest. Well, I hope you've enjoyed my beautiful hill in Dorset. I come up here most days. Some days it's lovely, like today. Other days it's a bit windy, rainy. But it's always a pleasure. Thank you for your company. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do join us. We're a family vlogging channel. We do happen to do the odd bits and bobs here and there that stray from the norm. I have been known to stick my foot in it and create a bit of a furore. But you're always welcome here. Come and join the Bear Fam. There's a lot of us with chronic illnesses, myself included. So if you suffer from anything like fibromyalgia, any chronic fatigue illnesses, arthritis, Raynaud's, anything that keeps you at home, join us. The Bear Fam is for you. Right, take care of yourselves and each other, and I'll see you on the morrow. Thanks, Bear Fam. Loving you. Mwah.